Hey everybody, Dustin here with Kingdom Rich Tech. I wanted to do a quick impromptu, less formal video about our ORB or opening range bell strategy. Primarily, we traded on NASDAQ. I wanted to show you how you can get access to it, kind of go through the settings with you to know how it works, how it functions, our goal behind it, and then how to kind of look at how to take the trades that we are generated through the ORB strategy. Just to kind of give you an idea of how it works and functions. And so I wanted to kind of give you an overview of how to get involved with it if you're interested in just checking it out for more. So let's go ahead and first just jump over to find it or access it. We have it in our bio in the link that we have in our social media pages. So if you go to Instagram and find us at Kingdom Rich Tech, it'll also be in my personal one at Dustin Trades. You can go into our link in the bio. Once you click on that, you'll get access to our website and all of our different socials. But in there, you'll see Opening Range Breakout Indicator. And once you click that, and we have a few other indicators is there, and we'll talk about those briefly, but we want to get you the access to that. So once you click on that, you click on Opening Range Bell, it'll take you to TradingView. This is hosted on TradingView, it's coded for TradingView. And so if you don't have a TradingView account, it's free, sign up for one. Once you click that link, it should automatically sign you in. If it doesn't, go ahead and sign in if you have an account. And then what you'll do is get access to it. And so this shows you the image and the opening range bell. We ask you if you get a chance while you're going through this to click the boost button. It'll just show us how many individuals or how many are using it. And so we can kind of get an idea of, if it's something that we can expand on, get some feedback on. So that would be helpful. We would greatly appreciate it if you just click that boost button here at the bottom for the indicator. We're constantly updating it. And so you'll see those updates on the page. You'll see the changes there. We're going to eventually branch this over into our Discord so that you can be up to date on what's going on, what we're adding and taking away. We'll do votes and polls and things like that to see, okay, let's make these adjustments. But we're always constantly updating it, making adjustments, changing things to fit the strategy to be the most profitable and successful that it can be, so that we can kind of continually refine and learn. And so you'll see the updates there. We've got constant updates, constant changes and adjustments there. Once you scroll down past those adjustments, you'll see it here where it says remove. It'll say add to favorites. Mine says remove because I have it as a favorite, but it'll say add to favorites. And then when you click this, it'll add it to your favorites in TradingView. And then once you go into TradingView, we'll jump over to the chart now so that you can see it. All you have to do to add it is go into indicators and just simply type ORB. You'll see Opening Range Breakout ORB, KRT for Kingdom Rich Tech. And once you click it, it'll just add it to the chart. And so let's go ahead and go. And so when we're on, it's defaulted for NASDAQ, so MNQ and NQ. And so the settings are all preset for that. And but it's available for every asset that you trade. We're focusing on commodities, micros, and equities as well. And so right now we're building that out to kind of make sure that the settings are correct. But it will default for NASDAQ because this is primarily a NASDAQ strategy, and we're expanding and evolving constantly. So let's go ahead and get into the settings, how the ORB works, how to understand it, how to read it. Our goal again is simplicity. That's what we want. So let's go ahead and turn off all the settings because we're going to briefly talk about everything so that you don't have to worry about what's what. So on the chart right now, what you see is the opening range. So essentially the opening range, we posted this in our social media, is we've defaulted it to the first 15 minutes of the NASDAQ market. So when the market opens up at 8:30, then we go and we trade on the 5-minute time frame. Now, again, it works on every time frame, but we focus on the lower time frames because this is primarily a scalping strategy. So we're trying to get into the market at the most efficient part where it's inefficiency in the market, capture that small move, get out, and be profitable on a consistent basis over multiple days and multiple weeks and months. So this is a scalping strategy, and the goal is to let the first 15 minutes of indecision play out. And then once we break out of that 15-minute range, then we're saying, okay, we have a clear directional purpose or intention in the NASDAQ market. So what you'll see here is the green is the top of that 15-minute range. The bottom is the red of that 15-minute range. Now, since we're on the 5-minute chart, every chart is in 5 minutes. So the first 15-minute range is going to be the first 3 candles of the market. So 5, 10, 15. And so what we see is that it drew the low, and it drew the high. This will print real time. So as if it's adjusting, you'll see it moving. And then once 8:45 hits, you'll see that 15-minute time frame is set in place. It won't adjust. And then you'll know at that point you have your range. But here's what's cool. We've adjusted it, set the settings where maybe you find an edge where it's only the first 5 minutes. Then when you adjust that, it'll change for you and only show the first 5 minutes. And it can go all the way up to 30 minutes and even to 60 minutes. Depending on what you're trading or what you're looking at, you can look everywhere between 5 to, and it's in 5-minute intervals, but you can go, it's in these time frame intervals, but you can go all the way from the 5 minute to the 60-minute. And so we default again to the 15-minute time frame because that's where we found our edge at. The select asset is going to default to M and Q. We have M and Q, we have NQ as well, and tons of other equities. We have the different commodities as well, micros on top of that. We are working to get the rest of the settings built into these. Right now, the whole primary focus is if, say, for example, you go into gold contracts or gold futures, you go to the gold chart, it'll display correctly on the chart. Let's go ahead and refresh this so you can see the opening range display correctly. If you have it on another time frame, so let's go back into the ORB and you have another asset, you click on M and Q, it won't show. And it won't show not because it doesn't work, it won't show because the time frames are different for the commodities and different things as opposed to equities and micros. And so there is a discrepancy there. And so what we've done is learn to adjust that for you. So if you on gold contracts, then you click GC to match, and it'll change so that you can see your opening range for that time frame, and then you can select your opening range. So let's go back to M and Q, and let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the settings here. Speaking about time frames as well, just to let you know, there in the bottom right of your screen here is the RTH and ETH. The ETH is the electronic trading time. It shows you rollover to rollover. So London session, New York session, Asia session, it shows you everything. This typically is the time frame are the settings that are defaulted for your charts. We have changed them. The strategy works for the NASDAQ in the opening bell. So we're only looking from the opening bell to the end of the close of day. That's kind of our space and our time. And so when you change it to, the settings down here, the RTH shows that range, that regular trading time from New York open all the way to New York close. And that's what happens. It shows that space just literally, and it doesn't include Asia, it doesn't include London. It's not needed for this strategy, but it does. But just to let you know, the opening range bell works on both. So if you want to just make sure you know what's going on in London, know what's going on in the Asia session, you can switch to the ETH time frame down here at the bottom right, and it'll let you, it still will work on just as normal as it does with the RTH. But we stick to RTH because we just kind of want to isolate the time that we need to see when we're trading NASDAQ. So to go further, as we are in M and Q, remember to have those settings there, and it'll show you that. You have the trade window. The trade window is, the way we trade now is the first 2 hours of the morning. And so from 8:30 to 10:30 is essential, is when we trade New York time, or the New York trading session, which is 9:30 at the opening bell. We only trade for the first 2 hours of that window. So if you see a breakout, we're only looking to find a breakout in the first 2 hours. If we get a breakout 4 hours into the market, we're not going to look at it, because again, we're looking for the time where the most activity and participants are trading. And so we look at that first 2 hours, but you have the option to trade it to 1 hour or to 3 hours. So if I throw on one of these filters, Signal Strategy filters, you can see that on 3 hours, it'll show the first 3 hours of the market. If we go down to 2, you'll lose one of those time, because now the time frame is back an hour. And then even I think sometimes if you go back to 1, a lot of times you won't get a crazy amount of signals, but the 1 hour just shows the first hour of the market. And so you typically have it between 1 and 2 hours to watch that. And so it'll let you trade. You have the option to pick how long you want to trade for, 1, 2, or 3. We find it kind of easier to have preset levels so that you can kind of stay within structure. Our whole goal is just to be repeatable on a profitable strategy. So let's look at the visual filters. The visual filters, again, are literally just visual filters. If you don't have them on, they are built into the code so that the strategy still prints them and still has them as a requirement. But it's just the visual filters help you see them for yourself on the chart. So let's first talk about the this filter here, the show EMA filter. The EMA is essentially the 50 and the 200 moving average. And the whole goal is to show the trend. If 50 is above 200, we're up. If 50 is below 200, we're down. And so what we've done is coded the EMA to show that literally green means we're in buys, red means we're in sells. And so that you don't have to think about it. Now you have moments where trends go back and forth. But in this example right here, you can see that the market is moving downtrend. And so you can see we get a moment of sideways market activity. The next day opens lower and we start moving lower into that third day before we change to the upside. And so what happens is the 50 moving average is below the 200 moving average to show that that's the trend. And eventually on this day, we had the down press into it. So we actually, which is interesting and I'll show it here, is because we were down, the trend filter still signaled a down trade because we were still down. Even though the 50, even though price had opened gapped higher, because the trend filter was down, we still got that sell and caught that sell to the downside. And so it works in our favor where it doesn't flip too often and too frequent. And then eventually, after this day closed out, we opened the next day with a change in trend, and clearly we can see price moving up. So it's a popular, these moving averages are very popular. These are EMAs, not SMAs. And what they do is just show trend. If you turn them off, you don't want to see that. The indicator still will know that to monitor the trend and show the trend trades as well. So you don't have to worry about that. The other feature here is the VWAP strategy or filter. The VWAP essentially is used in equities mainly, but you can use it in commodities and futures, other futures. Essentially, it is a weighted moving average. It stands for volume weighted average price, and it just helps you understand the average price based on the actual price weighted by the most current in recent time. It gets very complex for the futures, but is a very popular stock trading and equity trading's indicator. And so we use it as also a trend indicator on a shorter time frame. And so you can see, for example, here we'll zoom into this day that we had price open, press lower, and then immediately turn back up. And so we stayed above VWAP for the rest of that day. And so that's a clear, say, the short term we're looking for buys because price stayed above VWAP, came back, bounced it. Some strategies use the bounce, the rejection, and the continuation. So we're above it, we pull back, get into the trade, continue higher. And so we use VWAP as a filter to help you see visually trend on a shorter time frame. It does not calculate into the strategy itself, but it is available for traders to use to see that as a visual representation on the chart. So let's go ahead and talk about the strategy filters. There's two right now. The two strategy filters are simplistic. Our whole focus is simplicity, because when you complicate things, then it makes it hard for clarity in why you're doing what you're doing. We don't want that. That does not help the traders be successful. We want simplicity. So first is the use trend filter. This is strategy filters because these are the things that signal the trades. So the trend filter or the trend strategy first, essentially, let's go to a day where you can see the trend. The trend strategy shows you it shows the range. And then when we get a breakout of that range, it has to meet the trend filter and it has to have the right volume level. So first, the trend filter is, again, show EMA filter, the trend is up. So when we break out up and the trend is up, that means we're in the right direction of the trend. That is the first requirement. Price breaks up outside of the 15-minute range consolidation, and it clearly shows that we're in an uptrend by the actual EMA filter. So it identifies that and it shows the signal. The second thing that we have, and we've done a video on RVOL, so you might want to go back and watch it. But essentially, in a nutshell, that the second thing it has to do is the relative volume, or RVOL, has to be above 1. So it has to be at the average or above the average. So 1 RVOL means that it's trading at the average price of what it's supposed to be. If it's above it, it's great. So in this case, this trade actually pushed up above 2 times the normal volume based on RVOL. And so because of that, that was a clear signal where it's not a fake out. So we broke out, pulled back, tested the ORB just below, and then made that move up where we profited on the trade. And remember, it's a quick scalp, so we probably won't even capture the rest of this. It's just a quick move up. Probably on this candle, we're out of the trade. And you can see it clearly pushed up for the rest of the day until we had a turnover later in the afternoon. That is the trend indicator. And so it'll automatically, without any of the indicators there, it'll draw. Now this one down at the bottom, we have it available in our bio. It is the RVOL indicator that we coded. Essentially, it shows you the relative volume levels, and then it's coded as severe, 2 times, 1 time, and then below. And so red means it's hot, orange, it's the fire. You want it, the hotter it is, the better it is for breakouts. The milder it is, green is the temperatures where it's below. And so green is cool, but green is not what we want. We want orange, yellow, and red for our breakouts to confirm that we have over an abundance of volume, participant, and activity. And so that's what that is. You can get that in our link. This video is not about that. This video is about the ORB. The second part of the ORB is the RVOL strategy. The RVOL strategy is essentially the same concept. It doesn't look at the trend filter. The RVOL strategy is not based on trend. It is based on if we have 2 times the volume on a breakout. So the whole thing about ORB is opening range breakout. And so if we have an opening range breakout, so this is the range, and then we broke out clearly to the downside here. But what's cool about RVOL is it's not based on the trend. It's based on our volume being 2 times the volume that is being calculated. So this breakout shows that this breakout had 2 times the volume. Because of that, that is relevant to say there is a lot of, when you have a lot of volume and a lot of drive behind it, then that's when you have that breakout. And so that's what we have as a clear, we have to get the breakout, we have to find the range, get the breakout, and the breakout volume has to be 2 times higher than the normal average volume. And so it's that push. And then you can trade it where you take the breakout, the pullback happens, and then we have the continuation, or you can wait for the breakout, pull back to the ORB, get in on a limit order and short that. And that's the play. That's the whole cycle of the RVOL intervals. And so we couple them together to find the trend. Sometimes they join together, which is great. And so that's a combo trade. And then what's beautiful about that. So just to show you here, the RVOL strategy, again, RVOL threshold is 2. You can change it to, we don't recommend it for M and Q because we've back tested this, but it's typically 2. But you have the ability to change it to only look for something, say for example, 3 times the volume. If you want to take a higher time frame breakouts, you can change your RVOL threshold to say, I want it to be like, it's defaulted to 2 times the volume. But if you want higher breakouts or lower, you can change it to 1. You can actually type in numbers too, so it's not just set to be 1, 2, or 3. But we have it defaulted to 2 because that's how the strategy has found success. When it comes to the trend RVOL threshold, we talked about that. If we turn off here the RVOL feature and just use the trend filter, you can see that RVOL again was 2 times. You can make it again, you can adjust that to say 2 or 3. And once you get to 3, it'll filter out a lot more trades because a lot of times there's not 3 times the volume. That's not a normal thing, but when you get it, it works very well. So we have it 1 time because the trend needs to be higher than average to make that move to the downside. The RVOL length again looks back at 20 periods. You can customize this 2019. You can change it to whatever you want. It's completely customizable. We've learned that 20 is the place. Last but not least, don't want to run this too long. The default settings here. So for the trend filter and for the RVOL filters, we have use stop loss and take profit. Essentially, these are just lines that we put a plot on the chart that show you our entries, our stop loss and take profit. So in this case, the trend signaled. If you get in, you have it went straight down to profit on the next candle. Now, if you wait for the pullback, it got in, pushed down, pulled back, pushed up a little and draw down, and then eventually came back down further into profit. And so you can trade it both that way, but that's just our recommendation there. And then essentially it'll do it it'll do it also on RVOL as well. So if you turn off the trend filter, it'll be blue for RVOL, and then the lines will be orange. You have the features here to completely change that. So you can do 100 ticks, 200 ticks. We're going to eventually update this so that what it'll do is you'll have a drop down. So if you're trading gold, you'll have these features, but then we'll have our defaults as well. So hopefully that helps. This is a longer than normal video. I wasn't expecting to be that long, but I wanted to go through everything. I'll upload this to YouTube, kind of break some shorts down. If you have any questions, definitely DM us on Instagram or shoot us on Discord a message. We'll be more than happy to help you kind of troubleshoot, download, get things started. But thanks again, and we'll catch us in the next video as we go into this strategy a lot more and just stay tuned for more features and more indicators out. So have a great day and be blessed.